Thank you so much for accepting my invitation on behalf of Positive Wellbeing Association. I welcome Sir and Mame to the Positive Wellbeing platform. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're most welcome.
With you.
Thank you. I'm so intrigued by the whole sort of research that yourselves have actually contributed towards the journey of change, changing the unhealthy behaviours into healthy behaviours. I find it absolutely intriguing and fascinating, the whole notion of that. How would you summarise a review of the journey of change of unhealthy behaviours to healthy behaviours?
Okay, well, I think from a positive perspective, one of the things we look to do is to work with and interact with folks so that they can progress from one stage to the next. They typically, if they're in the pre-contemplation stage, and we put pressure on to take action, we would just set them up to fail, and they would be likely to become demoralized. But if we help them to understand you're in this first stage of change, and there's some small steps you can take that can help you to progress. Here again, we would be emphasizing positive because we know from over 50 different health risk behaviors from 10 different countries, the pros of change must go up to progress pre-contemplation to contemplation. So we talk with them about in terms of looking at the positive side and what are all the benefits that you might gain from quitting smoking, starting to eat healthy, starting to exercise adequately. And once they progress to contemplation, then we see that their pros and cons are tied. They clearly want to change, but now they have a lot of doubt. Is it worth it? Is it not? Should I put it off? Should I keep progressing? And by helping them to take and reduce some of the cons, that really breaks up their ambivalence. And for example, the number one con for most behavior changes is time. And we will let them know how little time they might need in order to be progressing to the next stage. Typically, there's interactions or exercises that they could do that could be in 15 minutes. They're reducing those cons. The less time it takes, the more confident they are, they'll stay with it. Then they progress to the preparation. Now, are we having feedback there?
Yes, I mean that's a fascinating sort of example that you've given from the initiation of the whole sort of stages of change, where obviously pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation and then action, and obviously it's such an amazing model, the actual trans-theoretical model is. And I personally believe that it's so imperative in all aspects of life. It's a very sort of amazing model whereby you can actually apply it to so many aspects of healthy human behaviors. So thank you so much for that explanation, sir. How can positive psychology practitioners practice the notion of the change model in an optimal manner for young children and adults? Could you elaborate on that, sir, please?
Yes, and the good news is that we've used the same kind of processes or guidance with youth, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and with adults at all different ages. And one of the things that's helpful is to understand that what they will be learning and doing applies to so many different behaviors. So the time that it takes to get all of these benefits from that time, and again, that reduces time as a negative and say, boy, I can learn, how to change all kinds of behaviors, anger, stress, depression, smoking, being hooked on smartphones, playing electronic games,
bullying.
Yeah, bullying. You know, and the list goes on. So it really is engaging in that. Wow, I never knew that the same principles can be used for helping people progress and be positive about very different types of behaviors.
We did an article for Psychology Review for high school students in the UK, and it came out a couple of months ago, but it was applying the stages of change to different behaviors for youth.
Right. Okay. I mean, that sounds like an absolutely amazing piece of research. We'd love to know more about that. What were the sort of aspects of change that were quite occurrent in the youth, that you felt that these type of sort of strategies were sort of quite influential? Which ones would you say were quite important when it came to change in younger adults, younger children?
Well, that's a really key question. And there's a growing consensus that there's a small number of behaviors that account for a majority of chronic diseases, disabilities, poor performance, and premature death. And so most often we look to help with those behaviors. And when we did like the program in the middle school with a couple thousand students, we were helping them to work with moving towards a healthier diet, more healthy exercise, not starting to smoke, not starting to drink. And we were working on both sides. For those who already had the healthy behaviors, we were working to help them maintain those, because what we see is, right around adolescence, when there's that increasing desire to be free and autonomous, we see kids going in the wrong direction, from healthy diets to less healthy diets, from healthy exercise to less healthy. So we want to maintain those who are having the positive behaviors, while at the same time in the classroom helping the youngsters to have unhealthy eating or exercise to progress towards healthy. And we follow them over a couple of years, and we spend several sessions with digital technology. So the young people who are very talented are working on digital technology and interact with programs that are designed for them, and that give them feedback about progress that they're making over time.
That's absolutely fascinating to know that actually if early interventions or early kind of positive psychology interventions are actually introduced, that you can change the mindset and growth mindset of young children and young adults. That's imperative piece of research that obviously in the world today, whereby everybody is trying to thrive for a better society and more sort of positive well-being around the world, that's good to know that there is still hope there to change these unhealthy behaviors, and it can be done at such an early stage. So thank you so much for that, sir. Please, could you elaborate on your key points of the 6-stage process of change in context of acquiring the inner skill set to thrive physically, emotionally, and socially?
Yes. Well, often one of the first things we say is, if you're going to be freer, and with adolescents, one of the things they want is personal freedom. And we talk about personal freedom as ability to change our own behavior. If we can't change our own behavior, how free are we? And so we would talk with them in terms of being positive. But the first thing you have to do is change your mind. And what does that mean? Most populations we're working with have a mental model of behavior change as equaling taking action. So you have to right away start exercising, right away change your diet, right away quit smoking. And the majority of all populations are not prepared to take action. And so we can just set them up for failure. Whereas if we help them to understand how they can progress from one stage to the next, we can give them feedback. Congratulations, you progressed 2 stages. You're about 3 times more likely to take successful action in the near future. So in the first stage, 1, change your mental model. 2, start to become more aware of the benefits of positive. 3, to overcome demoralization. So let's say, for example, with people trying to lose weight, you know, they've tried so many times in so many ways that they become demoralized. Well, here's the new approach, a fresh approach, and that helps reduce that demoralization. So different key factors at different stages.
Yeah, that's amazing to know that you can actually overcome the barriers within the 6-stage process of change, and that obviously through positive coaching, that a person can sort of analyze where they are on each stage. So it's absolutely fascinating to know for positive psychology practitioners that actually the implementation of the 6-stage process of change model can be done in such a constructive and systematic manner. So thank you so much for that insight, sir.
Let me share with you, because what you're saying is very important. We had 2 programs going in the school, starting in middle school. And one was for healthy eating, stress management, exercise. The other was to stop smoking or using alcohol, or to not start. Well, that program with 2 addictive behaviors was a lot more negative, you know, saying don't do this, don't do that. The one with the other behavior was much more positive. And what was fascinating was the kids in the schools that got the positive approaches, they were more likely to not start smoking, more likely to not start drinking than the kids who got the programs for those specific people. So it's fascinating that a positive approach generalized the behaviors that we weren't even treating.
Wow. So obviously the use of positive language and positive coaching, it does make a difference. So thank you so much for sharing that piece of research with us. Also, obviously, the whole notion of the process of change, it's such a absolutely, you know, amazing framework for positive psychology practitioners to work within. And obviously, after so much research and evidence-based research, it's proven to be a very sort of imperative part of positive psychology. Where would you say is the future of change, the whole change concept leading us towards a positive well-being for all?
You know, I wanted to mention how you were saying about health coaches helping with positive behavior, and to use the book Changing to Thrive that you have used in your research, in your work at school, that it helps the coach by stage for each of the 4 or 5 risky behaviors, for alcohol misuse, for stress, for unhealthy eating, for lack of exercise, for smoking, that it takes each of those behaviors by stage of change and gives skills and techniques to help the person they're working with move to the next stage of change.
Yes, that's really good. And actually, in terms of future, we did a large project with 4,000 people, with health coaches on the telephone, and digital programs, and we were working on changing multiple behaviors, and we did. And what we found was, not only did we reduce the negative behaviors, the misbehaviors, but we saw dramatic increases in emotional well-being, not just reducing depression, stress, and anxiety, but increasing happiness and joy. So big increases in social well-being and in the relationships with others. So, you know, one of the things that even reducing the negative can end up increasing the positive. But here's where we're at right now. We're working on a model where there's just a small number of behaviors, like I said, that carry such a big disease burden, disability burden. And so we say, well, why are those so important? We're talking about smoking, alcohol misuse, unhealthy diet, inadequate exercise. Well, they represent fundamental functions of life: breathing, drinking, eating, moving. And these are everyday behaviors. And we're convinced that those behaviors basically represent a behavioral immune system that parallels the biological immune system, and that these behaviors are designed to really enhance health and lengthen life. And our goal is to have not just to increase the lifespan, but even more importantly, increase the health span. And we're also working on a model of a social immune system that can help protect people from the unhealthy aspects of our society and our economy, and how these three, biological, self, and society, how they can come together and really dramatically enhance health spans and lifespans.
Thank you so much for that, sir, because obviously you can see that obviously, yourself and Ma'am are experts in the whole sort of field of the process of change, and to see that the progression of the 6-stage model has gone to such high lengths that it's actually now that you're considering to actually put it into some kind of like social model as well, to actually attribute it and put it there for the betterment of society, is showing that its actual sort of progression of the model has actually gone that step further. And also the fact that you've identified the 3 unhealthy top health risk areas, whereby healthy eating and being overweight, or and not having a tendency to go into addiction and in uncontrollable use of alcohol or drugs, is something that obviously in your book Thriving to Change is a core essence to the whole process of change. So thank you so much for Ma'am and yourself for sharing all those imperative points, and actually giving some really good prime examples from your research to actually show how the whole model is actually applied within the school setting. And also I'd just like to state again, thank you so much on behalf of Positive Wellbeing Association for taking the time out to actually participate in this interview. And also I feel that the actual the magnificent job that yourself and Ma'am have done for the whole sort of understanding of changing unhealthy behaviors into healthy behaviors is absolutely amazing. And it's put an absolute amazing foundation for clinical psychologists and positive psychology practitioners to actually look at clinical behaviors out there in a much more patient and much more systematic manner. So thank you so much again from Positive Wellbeing Association for actually participating in the interview. Thank you again.
Okay, well, we would like to wish your members well in the important work they're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.